gotten those before, yes. I mean, we have like every year, some hacker gets in somehow. That bleeding heart bug, the most recent one, wasn't even a virus, it was a bug. It wasn't even criminal. It was just something that could have been taken advantage of. You put your stuff online, you run the risk of that happening. So I just love the fact that Zuckerberg and the crew put the data up there for us to analyze.
I saw Facebook data said most likely breakups throughout the year.
Most
likely when people are most likely going to break up.
February 13th.
It was like January 1st and then like a couple days before spring break.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So people don't want to break up right before Christmas.
You know what's interesting? To tie that off, years ago, remember how I checked your guys' birthdays on the first day of class? We had a match birthdays. It looked like those birthdays were somewhat randomly spread throughout the year. There was a study done about 10 years ago, and it's been since overturned, but the study's premise was that the most popular birthday was October 5th, by a slight margin. You know why?
Because of the cold. It's cold weather.
Almost 9 months to the day after January 1st. Does that tie in at all with the breakup? I don't know. I don't know! I start thinking about that when you tell me January 1st is a high breakup day. I don't know. Plus, it's a convenient sample on Facebook of people, so who knows. So anyway, speaking of offspring, what I want to do is I want to analyze a new data set. I want to analyze a new data set and how statistics enabled me and my wife to digest some data that came down. Oh, goodness, this happens every day, right? Yes, okay. Some data that came down at Max's 2-year-old checkup. He's now 6, and the doctors know we're coming. They're like, oh, it's the whole family, great. They're the ones that actually read the damn pediatrician charts. Yes, we are. It started at his 2-year checkup. Love my doctors, I love you guys. I love you guys. I think I made one retire. Anyway, Max had his 2-year checkup. Here was the results of his 2-year checkup. Okay? And I'm going to have this PowerPoint for you. You don't have to write all this stuff down. There's going to be a lot of numbers coming at you pretty soon. I don't want you to write this stuff down. It's a little tedious. He was the 80th percentile for weight, 90th for length, 85th for head girth. My favorite measurement, they don't take it anymore, unfortunately. I guess once they hit 5 or 4, they stop measuring head girth. That's the tape around the head. Tape around the head. So, first of all, answer his question. What does that mean? 80th percentile for weight.
Is it an average, like people's weight?
It's an average. Okay, I like that. It's an average people's weight. Okay. What's the difference between 80th and 90th? Is he longer than he is heavy or heavier than he is long?
It just out of all the kids.
He's longer than he is heavy, because 90 is bigger than 80. And he's girthier than he is heavy, but longer than he is girthier.
He's the top 10% of length in the top 20%.
Ah, okay. Okay, everybody hear what Sean just said? Say it again, Sean, nice and loud.
With the weight, he's technically the top 20% of weight, the top 10% of length.
Okay. How many of you have heard the phrase percentile before? Only about a third of you. Of you, how many have heard it explained the way Sean just explained it? Okay, one of you. Good. Let's go through it slowly then. Slowly, in case, for those of you, A, that have never heard this phrase before, and B, even if you've heard it, have either had it misconstrued to you. Sean, you explained it perfectly. Thank you for that. The problem with percentile is it's very easily misunderstood. How many of you have either known somebody or taken a child to at an appointment like this and been told your child is in the 105th percentile or something like that? 105th? Yes, 105th, 110th. It's completely bogus. That does not exist. It cannot exist based on the definition of a percentile. Let's explain why. I think I understand what they're talking about when they say 105th percentile, but let's come back to that. Let's come back to that. First of all, I did a random sample of 100 white American 2-year-old males, which is the category that Max fit in at the time of his 2-year-old checkup. Can you find Max in there? He's in there. Can you find, actually, I lied. I did a sample of 99, and I stuck Max in there to make it 100. Can you find Max? Wait. Is that him? That him? That him? That him? Where is it?
27.
27? Maybe? Your parents are like, oh, what the hell, it's a block of numbers. It's a pain in the ass to look at. Good for you, sister. That is a pain in the ass to look at. So let's make it easier to look at. There! Same data, way easier to process, yes? Where's Max? JT said 27? Maybe 30? Maybe 29? So you guys are kind of honing in your votes to be about here. I like that very much. I like that very much. Good, good, good. Let's go through the data piece by piece. I'm going to build his 80th percentile for you to show you what is, because I haven't told you how much he weighs yet. I'm doing this backwards. Usually, they take him to the doctor, they stick him on a scale, they get the number, and then they tell you he's in the blah percentile. We're going backwards. I'm giving you his percentile and asking you how much he weighs. So let's go backwards. Okay? Sorry. Come on now. There. How many of these kids weigh less than 26 pounds?
6%.
It's 100 total. It's 100 total data points. Strictly less than 26, which means 25 and below.
20.
I gotta go for 20? You guys are simply counting up, yes? 20, good. So 20 of the 100 weigh less than 26 pounds.
22.
22. I trust both of them. Call 21 on the average if you want, that's fine. So we just got, that's 21% or 22% or 20% of the sample. Yes? So that would be the 20th percentile. If you were at 26 pounds, you'd be in the 20th percentile. Come back to that in a moment. Do the same thing, but do it for 29 pounds. Do it for 29 pounds instead. Less, not just less, not at, but less.
49.
Yeah, I'm getting 31.
It's almost 50%.
Just about 50%? Roughly half? We just found the what?
50%.
Yes, which is called the? We have a name for that already. What is half the halfway point of the data from least to greatest? Careful, sometimes, but always the median. We just found the median. It's the separator between the low and the high. In order, yes? In order, low and high. So you've got 29 pounds, right there is your median. There's the bottom 50%, here's the top 50. Do you see how cool, how spread out the bottom 50% is compared to the top 50%? Isn't that wild? Would you call this data bell-shaped? Good. I love what I just heard. I heard, yeah, and then I heard a, that's good! Because it's not inherently clear if it is or not. And you have to define what you think bell-shaped is enough, yes? What do you call bell-shaped enough? People have tried to quantify this for years. They have tried to quantify it for years. In your extra resources page for variation, the variation homework, if you will, I refer in the quiz I'll post for next week for you guys. There's a quiz that actually has you measure the skewedness of a data set, like how bell-shaped or how anti-bell-shaped it is, by using a calculation. You can do that. I like the, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's nowhere near as skewed as the Facebook data was. But it's nowhere as neat as some of the bell-shaped data, like the weight loss data was from before. So it falls somewhere in that gray area. It's kind of skewed-ish. That's why I like looking at the median. When you look at the median, the lower half of the data is definitely more spread out than the upper half of the data. Why would that be? Any theories? I have none. You guys have any theories? Any medical professionals, aspiring medical professionals out there? Why would the lighter kids have more variation in their weights than the heavier kids? Any idea? I got nothing. I'm just asking. Okay. Something to think about. Why is there such heavy variance in these light kids? Look at these guys over here. You know, the top kids. I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing except a question for that one. I don't know enough about child physiology. Okay. One last one. What percent, or how many of these 2-year-olds weigh less than 31 pounds? So there's 31, yeah? There's 11 of them, plus 8 is 19, plus 1 is 20. 20 are 31 or bigger, so how many are less? The other 80. 20 or 31 are bigger, the other 80, so what percent? 80%, 80 out of 100. What was Max's weight in what percentile? He was in the 8th percentile. How much did he weigh? 31 pounds. What does percentile mean? Sean, you said it in a very clever way. You said he's in the top 20%. If I don't mind, I want to use a more standard definition. It's that Max weighs more than 80% of white American 2-year-old males. That's the general definition. This is the general definition of a percentile. It's the percent that you're bigger than. It's the general definition of a percentile. I say general because it's not always used in the exact same way. There are slight deviations in the formula. We can explore those on a later exam if you guys want to, or a later quiz if you want to. But basically, if they tell you that your son is in the 80th percentile, that means he's heavier than 80% of kids his age. If they tell you he's in the 90th percentile for length, that means he's longer than 90% of kids his age, race, gender, whatever. If they tell you he's in the 85th percentile for head girthiness, that means he's head girthier than 85% of white American 2-year-old males. Does that make sense? That's all it is. It's simply a percentage that you exceed. Now I put a however because there are a couple things to consider here. What's the smallest percentile you can be, theoretically speaking? So I take Max to the doctor's 2-year-old checkup. He weighs 5 pounds. Madeline chuckles because I'm bringing sperm to the checkup. What percentile is he? Well, technically, by this definition, he's probably the 0th percentile because I can't imagine anybody smaller than that at 2 years of age. I'm going on what I think. When I think about a 2-year-old child, I'm thinking about a size about this big, some mass to them. They're getting ready to be at crotch level, about that height. They can run into your crotch. And, you know, you feel every one of those 31 pounds at crotch level. You do. When that 85% head girth cracks into your crotch, at 80%, 50 percentile weight, you feel it. You feel it. So I'm assuming, where my point is, is that every data set has the smallest element, yes? Every data set has the smallest element. That smallest element has to be the 0th percentile by that definition, correct? Because it doesn't exceed anything. So technically speaking, there is a 0th percentile, the smallest data point. 0th percentile is the smallest data point. Median is we just talked about it, the median is the 50th percentile. Which is the highest data point? Technically, therefore, be. It should be called the 100th percentile, although that breaks the definition, doesn't it, a little bit? Because you can't be bigger than yourself. If you are that largest data point, you technically aren't bigger than yourself. So you're like the 99.99th percentile or something like that. Sean, go ahead, please.
So when my kids get away, right, why is it that they tell them about the chart?
Well, off the...
In the percentile.
Well, okay, there's 2 statements that are contradictory. Off the charts does not mean they're out of the percentile. May I draw a curve, if that's okay? And this goes, I think, as well with the 105th percentile we mentioned earlier. Sean, thank you for that question. So if you bring your kids to the doctors and you get this 105th percentile